Hey, my friend.
Hello.
What is up?
Oh, nothing much. Hanging out, doing the thing.
Yes. Well, welcome to another week of Case Files with Kat and Ashley. Only took us 5 seasons to get it.
I don't even know that we've got it. But,
I don't know. Yeah.
Like we're just
Listen, okay. Wishful thinking. Way to ruin it. But great job. We're back.
so far so good.
So yeah.
So far so good.
2 episodes in, we're doing great.
Oh, batting 1,000.
Okay, guys, we are back. I guess do you have anything you would like to start off with, or should we just dive into the question of the week?
Well, let's just dive into the question.
Got it.
Yeah.
My question of the week, which if you're unfamiliar with the question of the week, we try to post it every Monday on all of the various platforms. You answer it, we read it, we discuss it, and we love them. So anyways, my question was, which do you find scarier or creepier, the attic or the basement, and why?
Yes. That is my answer. They both suck. They absolutely both suck. I think, I guess because this is Texas and we don't really have basements, that automatically seems scarier to me because our attics are kind of useless. Like they're not those big finished where you could like store closets in there. Like it's not like that. Like we have like plywood just laying over so you have a walkway. Like it's not like a super finished attic. So, and it's so hot, so I'm not scared of it as much as I am of like the idea of a basement.
So for me, it's neither. I don't want to be in either.
Oh, sure. But if I had to choose one.
I actively avoid going into my attic. And Hillary, our friend Hillary, unlocked a completely new fear for me today because I asked her this morning and she is like, can you just imagine if you got up in the attic and you got trapped up there? And I'm like, well, nope, but now I do. So that's a new fear. But I didn't realize in Texas, the attics, I didn't think about it. They don't really have windows. So where I'm from, our attics were the full sized where you could live in it. Like had windows. Like the room I had as a child literally had a walk-in door that led up into the attic.
Oh yeah, that's
and it was
awesome.
Terrifying for me.
That would be.
My grandmother had to
terrifying.
sleep on the foot of my bed because I thought whatever was living in the attic was going to kill me. I don't know why, but that was my fear. So yeah, I'm good with neither. I've seen a lot of basement horror movies, and I'm good. I'm all set.
I don't think basements. Like, I know that you can finish them and they can be all super remodeled or whatever, but you still got to walk down into them. And I just don't like that.
Yeah, I'm all good.
I don't like stairs. I don't like stairs.
I don't like stairs. I don't like the creepiness. I don't like the darkness. I don't like that it's underground. No one can hear you screaming. There's lots of things I don't like about a basement. We had some really good answers though. Looking forward to that. So, following suit of my question, I had it's not really trivia, but it was a list that I found of the 10 creepiest things found in attics. So I pulled some of those and then some of the things people said they found in basements.
Ooh. Okay.
To get this
dead bodies
episode started. A secret apartment. There was a Reddit user who found a whole apartment. They started researching and discovered that the house was converted into a 2-story building. Before it was converted, it was a store, and the owners had lived upstairs. After the store closed down, there was a church that bought it and built around it. He claims that the attic had a toilet, a sink, glass windows, and enough junk to last for days, almost as if someone was still living up there.
Oh, no. Like junk food?
He just said junk. Oh, he didn't specify.
Yuck.
And then this one was artwork with a message. There was a real estate agent and she was up in the attic and she was showing the house. And while she was in the attic, she discovered a series of crayon drawings by children. One read, "Did I scare you?" She was obviously freaked out and she shared her discovery on TikTok. And of course, there was a lot of users who were like, oh, that was probably like a prank. But then the others were like, no, that's definitely the sign of like an aggressive child. who probably lived there and was very disturbed.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And it was like really, like it was a child's handwriting in crayon that said, "Did I scare you?"
Oh my God. So when I was living in Boston, I was a rental agent because that was like a thing in Boston. And so, why did he give you that loud ass drum?
I know. It's okay.
But I would go into people's apartments because they were leaving school or changing apartments or whatever. And so I'd have to go show their apartment, and they didn't clean it all the time. And I would walk in, I was like, man, I wanted to just take pictures and then like make them into a coffee table book, because I was like, damn, people live in crazy ways.
Yes.
That's all I'll say.
Number 3, hidden bones. In Virginia, police were called to a house where they discovered a child's body in the attic. According to the Richmond police, they found the body of a 2-year-old tucked away. She had died from dehydration. So, of course, they opened an investigation because this was like an abandoned like apartment or whatever house. Anyways, after the police investigated, they ended up arresting her stepmom. The court charged her with first-degree murder, child neglect, and felony murder.
Oh, my goodness.
A 10-year-old boy from Germany was playing in his grandparents' attic when he discovered a suspicious-looking box. When the boy inquired about the box, neither his father nor his grandma knew what they contained. So, of course, they're like, well, let's just open it and see. And lo and behold, it was a mummy. The mummy, carefully packed in a wooden crate, was placed inside, complete with hieroglyphic adornments. The family later discovered that the item had belonged to their grandfather, who had traveled to North America when relics from ancient Egypt were in demand. But curious to discover if the mummy was real, they took the object to Berlin to show an expert, which it was an actual mummy.
Oh my gosh.
And I feel like if you've seen enough movies, you should know that you don't touch a mummy. You keep it inside the coffin. Like, what are you doing? A living person. This is my biggest thing when I hear noises creeping around upstairs. The apartment.
Yeah, thanks to your story.
The apartment owner first became suspicious when he noticed items like cash disappearing. The police searched his 3-story apartment, which a 3-story apartment to me is crazy. But anyways, he discovered a homeless man had been living in the crawl space. The visitor had made himself at home, and apart from stealing cash from the apartment, he would also take food. Investigators later found out that he was also visiting the neighbor's home when they were away, taking advantage of the hidden attic spaces in between all of the apartments. Dead animals. A team of investigators stumbled upon a collection of vintage baby carriages with some appalling occupants. Each carriage had a well-preserved small animal corpse swaddled perfectly and placed within the compartment. The discovery was at a 200-year-old farmhouse in New York, and it was shocking since each baby carriage had a different small animal. They found a total of 10 creatures, including dogs, cats, raccoons, and squirrels. The careful planning and detail suggest that the creative or sick-minded person conjured the idea and designed the scene intentionally and left it that way. An ex-partner. The single mother of 5 discovered her ex of 12 years living in her attic. A few weeks before the discovery, the woman noticed things going awry in her house, and she couldn't explain the changes. On the weirdest days, she would find a blanket in the basement or a toilet seat left up, even hearing some unusual noises. The mom knew something was wrong, but she couldn't put her finger on it. Then one Saturday morning, she heard a noise coming from her bedroom. When she went to look, she found her ex standing there. After a brief altercation during which he tried to grab her, she ran outside to get help. When the police came, it was discovered that he had been living in the attic for 2 weeks. And these were basements.
So, like, what was his plan? What was his end game?
He had been in prison. He got out and he didn't have a place to stay, so he was living in her attic.
Was he going to stay there, though? God damn.
The basements. Fetuses. In Hannibal, Missouri, people found 2 fetuses preserved in their basement, which had been rumored to be an illegal abortion clinic in the 40s. 2. A new resident in her home was remodeling the floor in her basement when she found a gruesome discovery. Underneath her basement were the remains of a deceased child. The body was a total shock to her, and then other bodies began to pop up as she continued to remodel, and it turns out her house was built on an ancient burial ground. The cemetery was said to be centuries old and was discovered to be one of the oldest burial sites in the area. This makes the people who were buried beneath her basement from the 1800s. It said that once someone disturbs the burial ground, the spirits of those who bury there will begin to haunt the place. This is often the case of someone who does renovations on a place that's built on a burial ground. I think we've all seen that movie.
Mm-hmm.
They're here. And then finally, a Reddit user shared a story about his basement in his parents' home. They had recently bought it. He described it as one of those basements that as soon as you turn out the lights, you'd run as fast as you could to get upstairs. Around the corner in a newly built section of the house was a meat freezer. The freezer contained huge meat hooks and had a huge door that led to the freezer. However, inside of the freezer was a missing handle, which would make it impossible to get out if someone were stuck in there. Needless to say, the meat hooks, of course, added an extra creepy aesthetic to the basement. And he said it was never explained why the house itself had a meat freezer with hooks and a missing handle in the basement. There's tons and tons and tons of attic and basement stories on Reddit. Feel free to go down that rabbit hole if you want. I was getting myself paranoid.
This is why I just, I don't know that I'll ever have a basement anywhere.
So tonight, the trivia is in the question of the week are kind of related. I'm going to be covering one of the most haunted hotels in the United States. It just happens to be in Texas. It's located in San Antonio. It's actually been listed as one of the top 3 haunted hotels in the United States. So I'm going to be talking about the Emily Morgan Hotel, which is named after Emily Morgan, who was notorious as one of the saviors of the Texas independence. Have you heard of this hotel?
Mm-mm.
It's right across from the Alamo. So it's real near the Riverwalk in the Alamo area. So it is located in San Antonio, and before the building was even built, the grounds were where the Mexican forces battled the Texans in the long barracks of the Alamo in 1836. So over 600 men lost their lives here. This is prior to anything being built on this land. So when originally built, the location was built as a medical arts building, and it had over 100 medical professionals, like doctors, dentists, anything related to the medical was in this building. It was believed to have a section devoted to the care of those suffering from psychological conditions. It had a surgery floor, all kinds of stuff. So in 1977, it was recognized by the National Register of Historic Places as part of the Alamo Plaza Historic District. And in 2015, it was inducted into the Historic Hotels of American organization. It was also in 2015 when it was listed in the USA Today as being the 3rd most haunted hotel.
Oh, wow.
In the United States. I believe it said the world. It could have said the world. It's pretty haunted. So the building itself is this Gothic style structure, and it has originally 13 stories. There was 177 rooms and 24 suites. On the outside, it has gargoyles all around it, and they depict various ailments of the people that would be going there. So they had different expressions injured and sick, and all the gargoyles are different, and it lines the outside of the building. It had office space for 100 doctors and 400 people. The basement of the building served as a morgue and crematorium, providing for the patients and their families from birth to end. That was their goal. You could be born there, you could go there for all your medical stuff, and then when you were dead you could be cremated. So,
nothing.
The hotel does follow that tradition the traditional superstition that a lot of other hotels and buildings face, where it does not have a 13th floor. Technically, it only has 13 floors, but they skip the 13th and call it the 14th. But what this hotel has that many others don't have is on the 14th floor, there is also no room 1408. It stops at 1407 by design, and the next room is the Duke Suite. And that's because when you add the numbers 1408 together, you get the number 13.
Oh.
So that's just one of the many weird things that this hotel has going on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
the 14th floor is really the 13th floor.
Yeah. And there's no 1408 because it equals 13. So every floor on this hotel is said to be haunted. Every single floor. The most haunted floors, though, are said to be the 7th, 9th, 12th, and 14th, and of course the basement. So these floors were the psych ward, the surgery ward, the waiting area, and the morgue/crematorium. So, of course, those are going to be the most haunted. Guests have reported everything from strange noises, sensations of feeling something cold brushing up against them, lingering sense of medicine. Those staying on the 14th floor all pretty much have said that the smell is acutely reminiscent of a hospital, and nothing the hotel has been done to get rid of that smell has worked. Like it's a permanent, like through renovations, and like they even say like each floor kind of has its own distinct smell. Guests have reported opening the doors to finding a scene from a hospital that disappears as soon as they close the door and reopen it. Like they'll see like doctors working, nurses, like very vivid hospital scene. Multiple guests, not just one or two, not like one article, but like tons of people have said this. Elevators seem to have a mind of their own. The guests have seen flashing lights in the room. Others have reported seeing nurses in the hallways as they push gurneys down the corridors.
This is all in the 14th or like all throughout?
I'm going to go through each floor in a little bit, but like this is just a general overview of like all the stuff that people have seen in this hotel. They say that guests often see ghostly images that were never there in the first place. They say that employees who have worked in the basement have said they've experienced really weird happenings. They see glowing orbs dancing in the air, hear disembodied voices that have no known source. The air is super thick. They don't like working down there. They try to get in and out as quickly as possible. And the basement's actually shut off to the general public. Only employees can go in there now. And so the number of people who died here or were cremated here is unknown. They have no idea of how many people actually died on this land, how many people died in the building. But they do know that it was well into the hundreds because of the battle before it was built. Right. And then the surgeries and the psych ward and the morgue. I mean, there were hundreds and hundreds of dead bodies in this building. There
thousands probably
in the basement. Employees say that the stench of burning human flesh,
oh my God,
never goes away.
I don't even know what that smells like.
I don't know what it smells like, but I know I don't want to smell it. Others have reported that the basement air again just feels super heavy. Like they really hate going down there. If the elevator takes someone down there, like a guest, it will not open. Like you have to have like an employee like card to even get in there.
Oh my gosh.
So I could not technically verify this next statement, but if it's true, OMG. According to several news articles, the Emily Morgan swimming pool, which is on the 12th floor, I believe, was constructed out of the stainless steel from the medical center's operating tables.
Oh my, what?
So it is assumed that one reason that there are still so many spirits is because they're built in, because the pool is, and I did see this in multiple articles, but none of them cited where they got that from. But multiple places say that the steel was repurposed into building the pool. Somebody thought that was a good idea, ran it by a couple of people, and it was approved and done. I don't know how.
Oh my God.
So the 12th floor was the operating level of the medical arts building, and it is on this floor that guests have visibly witnessed the bathroom doors opening and shutting on their own. In the dead of night, guests are like woken up from their sleep to hear trickling of water leaking. Like they'll get up out of bed. They will hear the water, they'll feel drawn to the bathroom. They will go to the bathroom and be looking into the bathroom, and their faucets will be running, like overflowing. Bathtubs will be filling with water. The like faucets look like they've been cracked open, but as soon as they cross into the bathroom, it all stops. Like they've described it as like the water suddenly stops, as if there's a rubber stopper that has been put, and everything is bone dry. No sounds, no water, no crack, no bathtubs full of water, nothing. It is all gone. When they're outside of it, and it's like family members will hear it. Like multiple people will get up and hear it, thinking someone else turned it on. Mm-mm. They'll look in, they'll see it, they step in, nothing. Right, Kevin? Right. Mm-mm. Others have seen lights flashing in their room. Others, again, have reported nurses in the hallway. On the 11th floor, the most frequent sighting is this apparition of an elderly woman in a hospital gown. And she's been seen walking up and down the hallways. She's occasionally heard weeping. She will walk off, like she'll start weeping and then just walk off into a random room and just disappear. Also on the 11th floor, guests often reported what sounds like hospital gurneys being wheeled down outside of the room. And many people on multiple floors have said in the middle of the night, they'll hear like their door handles being jiggled. Like someone's trying to get into their room, and they'll open the door and there'll be nobody there. But different people on different floors in different rooms have reported this like multiple times. It sounds like someone's trying to get in.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Creepy.
I feel like if you were staying there, like you'd almost think that you were crazy, because if these scenes look as real, like I can imagine what they're looking at, the way that you're describing it, it's so clear. Like if I was looking at that and then it stopped, and
they literally say they open the door and it's like a hospital scene. Doctors working, nurses pushing a gurney.
I can hear the sounds. I can see the people rushing about, and then you blink and it's gone.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like, I'm losing my mind.
And there's people, so I'm going to read some TripAdvisor reviews later, but there's so many of them that said, I was unaware that this hotel was supposed to be haunted, and I feel like they should warn people when they book a room, because we stayed here and all of this crazy stuff happened, and we left early and it was awful, and they ended up refunding us our money. But basically, like multiple said, they had no idea it was haunted. Like they didn't do that much research, right? Like they were just looking for hotels.
It's close
obviously
to the Alamo.
hotel doesn't advertise itself usually as haunted. Yeah, and it's like central San Antonio, like near the Riverwalk, near Alamo, near all of the tourist things. And so people were upset that they did not realize that this hotel was supposedly haunted and all of this stuff was happening. So that is a complaint of many people, that they did not know. But on the flip side, of course, there's a lot of people who call and request a haunted room.
And do they get it?
Sounds like every room is haunted in this hotel. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say yes. Like I said, I'll read some of the reviews here in a little bit. But okay, so on the 9th floor, guests have reported strange things such as wine bottles sliding off tables, toilet seats being repeatedly banged up and down in the middle of the night, and sounds from unoccupied rooms are also a frequent occurrence. So people will hear like crying or laughing or just people moving around in rooms, and they'll call and make a noise complaint like, hey, there's a party next door. And the front desk will be like, there's literally no one in the room next to you.
Oh my God.
There was one story where a woman was in a room, like her and her baby, like a newborn baby, and they heard a bunch of noise next door, but they thought it was just like people. And so they left and came back a little bit later, and it was quiet, everything was fine. And then the front desk people had called her back and asked her if she heard some strange noises, and she's like, yeah, I thought it was just people next door, because another person on the floor had called and reported a noise complaint, and they told her that there was nobody next door, and they wanted to verify the other person who called the story to see if she had also heard it. So they did send someone and check. Nobody in the room. Apparently that's a very common thing, to hear stuff in rooms that are unoccupied.
Nope.
On the 3rd floor, a guest was awoken in the middle of the night to the sound of humming and witnessed the apparition of a young girl sitting at the foot of her bed.
Oh my God, no.
The young girl apparently spoke to her and asked her to sing along.
Oh, no. It just keeps getting worse.
The following night, the same guest was awoken again around the same time. However, this time, it felt as though someone had gotten into the bed with her noticing the impression in the bed and the feeling of someone pushing against the side of her body. At a later date, a different guest staying on the same floor, not the same room, also experienced the sound of the woman singing, and it awoke her and her son both up. They both heard the sound of the humming.
I don't like that. Which floor is that?
That is the 3rd floor.
Oh, yeah, I'm not going there. No, that's
every floor in this hotel is haunted.
I know, but that's the worst. Like, I don't mind
that's
seeing...
the worst?
That's the
of
worst.
all the things we've talked about?
Someone climbing into bed and snuggling up with you. No thanks. And saying,
it's
sing
just
along
a very
with me.
loving ghost. She just wants you to sing along with her and dance and like...
For tea.
She just wants to be cuddled.
For two.
Yeah, I didn't say what she was humming. I feel like she should have...
Me, for you. Ooh.
I mean, you know... It could be doing worse things. It could be pulling the sheets off of you.
It's like,
she supposed to do a duet.
And then I'll do a little soft shoe. Little
I mean, geez.
I'm just assuming it's like 1920s, 30s music.
How ungrateful. You get to stay in this hotel and get a free show. Like, I mean, I don't know. I'm just kidding. I would be terrified.
I would rather open the door and go, oh, it's a hospital scene. Let me just close this real quick. I'd rather see that than like...
And then turn around and there she is humming.
Shit.
I don't...
God damn it.
Of all the things in this hotel, honestly, I don't know which one I would rather see over the other. Probably none of them. Like,
I mean, if you had to choose.
If I knew staying there that the pool was built out of the steel of the operation, I would never even go near it because no.
Would I go on a tour of this place though in the daytime? I don't know that I would go there at night.
There are lots of companies that do ghost tours of this. The hotel does around Halloween kind of push that they are haunted. They do packages where you can stay for a night and like do a tour or whatever. So they are kind of embracing it now, I think. But it was bought out. So originally it was independent and now it's owned by Doubletree, which is like super fancy. I think that's kind of why they don't push that it's haunted because like,
it's not fancy. It's like mid-fancy.
Well, you know what I mean.
It's mid-fancy.
Mid-fancy. Anywho.
But a lady singing to me, no thanks.
A young girl.
Yeah, see that's the worst. That's worst. A dead child.
So
singing.
Between the bathtubs running water,
I'm fine with that.
The hospital scenes, the crying old woman, noises in unoccupied rooms, the humming of a child, and
they're not crawling into bed with me. Or asking me to sing along.
Okay, well, it gets worse.
Oh, God.
I'm glad that's where your breaking point was because here we go. So I mentioned the elevators had a mind of their own. The elevators are known to ride up and down without a single rider in it. When guests do get on it, the elevators sometimes will skip their requested floors as though a guest never pushed a button at all. Sometimes
they're bitchy elevators.
Sometimes, here we go. Sometimes the elevator doors will cling shut and remain closed for hours, locking people inside of them. These people cannot get out until they are able to somehow make a phone call and alert people that they are locked inside. So help will come and get them out. Front desk attendants have often received unlisted phone calls from the elevators themselves, even though there's no one inside of them when the calls were made. So like they'll get phone calls saying that they're trapped inside and they need help, and there will literally be no one in the elevator. I would not work at this hotel, let alone stay in it.
I don't think I would either. I mean, I think like some of it would be kind of like, haha, funny, but some of it seems like downright
Listen, if I was getting phone calls from the elevator,
Exactly.
I
That's
would
what
be
I'm saying.
like, no, thank you. The elevators are calling
It's
me.
that little
I'm
girl.
out.
Just see, she's that little girl.
And if all of that is not creepy as fuck on its own, let me tell you what else the elevators do.
Oh God.
They sometimes take elevators or take guests straight down to the basement level where the morgue was located and won't go back up again on its own. It slowly will go back up, but the doors don't open to the morgue, so the guests can't get out into the morgue because, again, only employees are allowed in this area. It is taped off. So, yes, the elevators will just take them there.
I hate this place.
So
I'm surprised I've never heard of it. Like, there's lots of, I mean, in that area of Texas, there's lots of those haunted hotels, you know, like the Manger, what's it called? Manger, they can say, pronounce it.
I believe so. I know Deanne has told us her son was filming at one, I think, is when he got scratched. So I don't know if it was this one, but we'll have to find out because I would like to hear his story if this was the one. I still want to hear his story.
Oh my God.
Anyways, I will list the full list of the haunted hotels according to that list at the end. Because we've talked about several, and I'm sure we'll talk about the rest of them at some point. So, as I mentioned, pretty much every floor has ghosts. According to the staff, though, the most haunted floor is the 7th floor. Ooh. They feel like this is where the craziest stuff happens. The 7th floor just also happens to be home to a ghostly bride. They don't know why. The brides. They don't know why she's there. They don't have any reports of a bride dying there. They don't have any reports of a woman passing away in a wedding dress or a wedding gone wrong. But it's definitely a bride. They say that for them, this is one of the most haunted floors in the hotel. The bride she lets out an unearthly shriek, which carries out in the dead of night. It wakes sleeping guests. It's typically around 3 a.m., which is the witching hour.
Just got chills.
Frightened by the sound of her shrieking in the middle of the night. Obviously, you hear a woman shrieking. You feel like something's happening. Many guests will call down to the front desk, to which the front desk people literally have to tell them it's just a ghost. At that point, it's just a ghost. Guests have seen a woman in white. They've heard phones ringing throughout the night, witnessed TVs turning on and off on their own, lights turning on and off on their own, and they've said they've constantly feel like they're being touched by unseen people.
I do not give you enthusiastic consent.
Apparitions have been sighted as their translucent frames dart through the rooms. They disappear right into the wall themselves. On some occasions, the same apparitions appear along the living when the living peer into mirrors. Guests will be looking in the mirror in the bathroom, and behind them they will see the bride or other nurses or stuff.
No. That is a nightmare. That is my nightmare.
I know. I hate mirrors. As we sit right next to a giant one in your room. Thank you.
I don't like mirrors at night. I've told you this before. I hate mirror. I hate going. I turn on lights. I looked at the floor. I hate mirrors so much. Thank you to my brother for scarring me on mirrors for the rest of my life. Hate mirrors so much. And like I saw a TikTok.
Yeah.
And it was a guy like normal people washing their face in the shower. And it's like really, really fast. And it's like, looking around because you don't like to keep your eyes closed. So and then as soon as you wash your face, there's this look around. Like, is there anyone around me? When I'm washing my face at the sink, I'm like fast.
I have my attack turtle in my bathroom because I don't have a new stand for him yet. So he can bite the ghost.
Yeah, no, it's a turtle.
I know. Listen, I'm trying to make myself feel better. Okay. No. He's an aquatic turtle. He's a fast swimmer. Okay. Anyway, he's a strong survivor. Anywho, yes, my mother covers all of her mirrors. She hates mirrors. But yes, many guests have reported seeing apparitions in the mirrors behind them.
That just never going in there.
So many guests say that the stay is so unbearable for them that they check out in the middle of the night, or they absolutely demand to be switched to other rooms lots of them just check out and don't come back.
If they're on the 7th floor, you mean?
Yes.
Like that,
Yes.
It's that bad. And it's like that on the 7th floor more than any other
They didn't specify if that was just on the 7th floor, but this was in the section about the 7th floor. So my assumption is that they're referring to guests saying the 7th floor is unbearable.
Like if they're like, put me in a different floor, this is just really bad. Wow. Eek.
So
I feel like my fear, I think, is that one of them would like get stuck to me. Yeah. And I would take it home.
Or get mad that I complained and wanted to switch rooms.
And then followed me to the next room.
Yeah. Told one of their ghost buddies.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm coming down.
She's coming to you, Bob.
So Deborah McNabb, the hotel sales manager, believes there is something paranormal going on. But this is why. She visited a dentist in the building when it was the medical building and it had the dentist office. So when she was younger, she visited a dentist office in this building. Later, when she stayed in the hotel, she said she left her room to go get dinner and found something strange when she returned. So she came back and the bath water was running. It was halfway full. She said it was completely blue. The water was blue. It was so blue that you would actually have to dye this water to be this color. So it was kind of silly. I was with a friend, so I thought that she had turned the bath water on. So McNabb added that we had a key card system, so we knew we could find out who had entered the room, because she said, well, maybe since her friend said it wasn't her, that engineering was playing a joke on her, because she was part of the hotel and like supposedly was haunted. So she thought they were playing a joke on her. But when she went to check the system, only her key had been used to enter and exit the room. No one else had been there. No one was seen coming in or out. So actual staff have stayed there and had things happen.
Blue. I wonder what that is.
Well, sometimes you go, like, I don't know what it's called, but like you see them stick like the instruments in that jar of blue stuff. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And it's supposed to clean it. Antiseptic, maybe.
Yeah. They have that like at like barbershops and stuff. Yeah.
So that's what my thought was. Like it was something like that. Because what else would be blue?
I don't know. Nothing.
But she said it was like no way it could naturally be that color.
Wow.
Yeah. So over the years, it isn't just the medical past and the hauntings that have caused concerns, but there have been actual murders here as well. So on April 4th, 2008, the police officers were alerted to a disturbance call at room 810 at 2 a.m. in the morning. Upon reaching the scene, there was a violent argument that could be heard between a man and a woman named Juan and Elvira. So in the midst of the altercation between the man and the woman screams out, "He's stabbing me," prompting the officers to break down the door using a battering ram. Upon entering, officers shot the man several times in the chest. He was said to have been on top of her, stabbing her, which is why they immediately shot him, because he wouldn't get off of her. However, she was already dead. He died later at the hospital. Juan was a construction worker who was working on an ongoing renovation project at the hotel himself. Elvira, however, was a mother of 3. She was recently married. And so the police have no idea what the connection between the two individuals were, how they ended up in the same hotel room together, because there was no trace. There was nothing like text messages between them that said, hey, meet me in the room, or no email exchange. There was no kind of connection on why they would be in the hotel room together. And like, no one said this. Okay, this is just my personal thing. But if he was an actual construction worker on the hotel and he was ongoing renovations all the time, maybe he was possessed. I don't know, because they said he wouldn't get off of her even after they broke down the door.
And she was dead.
She was dead, and he was still stabbing her.
But they heard her screaming.
Well, they heard her screaming, which is why they tried to open the door. But by the time they got the door open, she was dead. So she could have been alive, but he had already killed her and was still stabbing her. 3 weeks later, April 24th, Justin Cordinas accidentally discharged a loaded .45 caliber handgun on his friend, also named Justin Hausel, killing him on the spot. The two were high school best friends and had checked into the hotel for a get-together with their friends at night. In a foolish act, Hostel took out, I don't know how to say it. That's how it's spelled, Hostel. Took out Justin number 2. Let's just say Justin number 2 took out a handgun and placed it to his head. There he taunted Justin number 1 to squeeze the trigger. Believing that the friend was just joking and that the gun was unloaded, he stepped forward and he actually pulled the trigger. The gun was loaded. The safety was not on. His friend died instantly because the bullet went through his head. The man was later charged with manslaughter and sentenced to 12 years in prison, even though he tried to explain it was an accident. He tried to explain it. They did not believe him. He pulled the trigger, even though his friend was holding the gun. There were other crazy incidences here or there in the hospital. I mean, in the hotel, but that was two of the major. He was dumb.
I mean, I feel like
both of them were dumb.
Sure. If you don't know how to work a gun, if you can't see that the safety's off, or I don't know, it's loaded. I mean,
I don't know if that's really what happened either, right? Like, I mean that's a pretty strange story. Why would you point a gun at your own head and taunt your friend to pull the trigger?
Exactly. That's a really strange story, all in all.
But he did get sentenced to 12 years in prison, so he's still there. Or I think he might be out now, but he served his full sentence. He didn't get paroled or anything. Anywho, As of February 2022, over 400 of the 2,500 reviews posted about Emily Morgan's hotel have been related to the haunting and the ghost. So I pulled some of them that I found to be the most interesting, but you can go down this rabbit hole. Just go to TripAdvisor, type in Emily Morgan Hotel San Antonio. There's tons. You can filter by haunted, you can filter by ghost, and read all of them.
Wow.
So, in February...
He's just burping.
I know, I'm sorry. It always happens. In February of 2016, there was a user who goes by Justin C., and he reported seeing a black hand on the top left-hand corner of his room on the 9th floor. Another user, like on the top left-hand corner of his room.
Just a hand?
That's what it said.
Like
a black hand.
Like a disembodied
black hand. Maybe he meant like shadow, but he said black hand on the top left-hand corner of the room on the 9th floor.
Like
he did. I didn't.
No, what is that? The thing?
Yeah, I didn't contact him and ask him for details. I'm just telling you what he said.
Walking around.
Another user around the same time reported paranormal events such as children playing and crying, children's sounds. That was in May 2016.
No.
In March of 2021, this user said, "In my opinion, this hotel is definitely haunted. The 14th floor unarguably smells exactly like a hospital."
Oh, that gives me chills. Like
March 2021, a user named Dolly Jackson posted, "We wanted a haunted hotel experience, and boy, did we get one. EMF readings in our room, which was on the 7th floor, were very high, and we actually saw a shadowy figure in our room just before dawn. The shrieking, the willful elevators did not disappoint, and then we definitely got an uneasy feeling on a quick trip up to the 13th/14th floor."
Mm-mm. But you can get out on the 14th floor. Like
you can get out on the 14th floor
but it just has that.
They just skipped 13 because it's considered unlucky in tall buildings.
But what's 1407? What's that?
1408 is the room that is not technically a room because it equals 13. But they have 14. They go up to 1407, and then what would be room 1408 is called the Duke Suite.
The Duke Suite. Duke Suite.
On February 2020, Jessica C. says, "The 14th floor smells of antiseptic. It was otherworldly stepping off of the elevators and the smell hitting you so strongly. None of the other floors had that smell. There's a super cool mail slot in between the elevators that goes down through each floor. I'd never seen anything like it. I got such a kick out of the light bulbs lighting up for each elevator. I know it's not any different than the arrows on most of them, but for some reason seeing those bulbs light up made me giggle. The elevators do have a mind of their own, though. The very first time we got in it, it went up and down and opened on the floors that no one was waiting on. It was a good 3 minutes to finally just get to the 4th floor. It skipped it multiple times on its own.
See, I would be like, okay, I'm just going to get out right here. I'll take the stairs.
December 2016, a user titled their review as "Skeptic Scared Out of Her Mind." Of course, we went there to ghost hunt, thought it would be fun to imagine doors opening, water running, ghosts floating, all of that nonsense. All in fun, of course. We went walking around the halls at 1 a.m., went to the 7th floor and sat by the ice machine so I could see all the angles. Originally, I saw nothing and I got bored, so I pulled out my phone to play solitaire, and that's when things started crazy. The ice machine began roaring, and not making ice, just roaring. Hold your ears, roaring. Waited a little bit to see if it would stop, and it didn't. I got up and went to the elevator. Mm-mm. The elevator kept stopping between each and every floor. Mm-mm. Took several minutes to even open the door. I would have used the fire escape, but it had an alarm on the door. Seriously creepy. I hung out in the lobby for the rest of the night.
I would, you know what? That'd be me. That would be me. Right there.
I feel like she went in as a skeptic and they're like, oh, we'll show you. We'll show you.
That would be Jason. Jason, let's go. Let's go there.
They do not play around. Some, of course, believe the hotel is also haunted by the soldiers who lost their lives there, because why not? So that's really my story about the hotel, but I'm going to read the full list that was printed in that article of what they consider to be the most haunted hotels in the United States. So number 1 was the Stanley Hotel, which is based off The Shining. We've covered that in a previous episode if you want to go back and go back and listen to it. Number 2 was the Bourbon Orleans Hotel.
Ooh.
Obviously New Orleans. Number 3 was the Emily Morgan Hotel in San Antonio. 4 was the Omni Parker House in Boston. 5 is the Southern.
I know where that is.
5 is the Southern Mansion in Cape May. Number 6 is the Audubon Cottages in New Orleans. I'm going to be honest, a lot of these are in New Orleans. Number 7 was the Marshall House in Savannah, Georgia. I haven't been there, but when I lived in Charleston, that was talked about quite a bit. Like, you could go and visit it, and it's crazy. 8 is the Hay Adams in Washington, D.C. Number 9 is Hotel Sorrento in Seattle. Number 10 is the Hotel... Hotel Provincial. I don't know how to say it. Provincial. It's in New Orleans. Provincial. I don't know. Whatever. It's in New Orleans. Just assume every hotel in New Orleans is haunted. Number 11, the Omni Showroom in Washington, D.C. So there's several in Washington, D.C. 4, 3 in New Orleans. I'm going to assume all of them in New Orleans are haunted. And then kind of spread out from there. But that is the list that was printed according to USA Today, based on reviews, guests, employees, surveys that were done, all kinds of stuff that was done.
Did the one in Savannah, didn't you do that one where there was like the bartender?
That was in Charleston.
Was that in Charleston? Where like the man in black? There was a man in black.
Yeah. That wasn't. No, I haven't done any about Savannah yet. The thing is, so a lot of those states have those old plantations.
Yeah.
They've got where the pirates used to come in when the pirates were a big, time period. So there is so much of Savannah, Georgia area in general, Charleston, parts of North Carolina that were all just so super hot. Like Charleston is like a hub for the paranormal in its own. I could probably do 20 different episodes on Charleston alone.
Yeah, I've heard that there's a lot, but I feel like that one was in my memory. The one I see it in Savannah, but it's probably just
they were innkeepers and they used to rob the men that were traveling, and when she got caught, they killed her or whatever, and she was said to haunt.
There was a man in black with a piano bars play.
That was the Stanley Hotel.
I don't know. It was like it was in the South. Yeah, it was in the South. I'll have to go back.
It wasn't. I don't know. There's a lot of those.
I know. There's a lot of those.
I have not done anything about Savannah, Georgia, so I know it wasn't that one.
No. Yeah.
If it was
in the South. That's all.
If it was in the South, it was probably.
I remember pirates being a part of it.
Then that would have been North Carolina or South Carolina. Who knows? We've done a lot.
So pirates, I know, 145, but pirates are also coming in into my brain because the last podcast on the left guys are doing Blackbeard. They just finished a 3-part Blackbeard series.
So in Charleston, I used to live near the dungeon, which is where they would hang the pirates, or they would jail the pirates, but they also had the hanging tree where they would hang them, and the tree is still there. They have all kinds. They have Charlestown Landing, which is where the colonists like originally started building. Like I actually worked there. I was full garb, like worked in one of the houses.
Wow.
And they would have a pirate ship or colonist ship.
And
were
you a wench or were you just like a Southerner?
I was a woman, female colonist. I was responsible for keeping the house clean, they had a horse out there. I would make the candles in the pig, like we had a big vat over a fire outside, and we would make like the actual like original candles. They had a blacksmith shop right next door, so I would help take care of that. And then when the guests would come, I would give the tours of the house and talk about the ghosts and stuff.
Wow.
That was when I was in middle school.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I loved it. So anywho, I could talk all day about Charleston and the hauntings. There was Pugin's Porch, very haunted restaurant, was haunted by a dog. Love it. So,
I don't know. In theory, maybe, but nah.
Lots of pirates.
Yeah. Like in theory, I'm into haunted things. And then like if I were to spend the night somewhere, I don't know that I would really be able to.
On our 150th episode where we do like listener stories and stuff, I've got a bunch about a place in North Carolina that my grandparents were friends with.
Was that the one with the candle?
Yeah, but there's a whole book they wrote of haunted stories about that place that I'll talk about.
That's so crazy.
But that's my story on the Emily Morgan Haunted Hotel, San Antonio. 7th floor, most haunted.
Hey, well, let me get your answers.
While she's pulling up Facebook answers, I will say my mother answered on Instagram, and she says basements. Which is weird because she lived in a house that had a basement. Like someone was legitimately living in it, though.
Did she just not go down there or what?
Well, no, because someone was living in it. Like she was renting the house. Okay. They lived on the top, and they had turned the bottom into like a basement apartment, and someone was living down there. I was like, no, thank you, because that would freak me out.
I gotta hold this. You're not gonna be able to see my face.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
You're fine.
All right. Okay, so Danelle says, I'm a pansy. It all scares me. Chuck says, basement for certain. Dark, dank, low ceiling, and few ways out. Oh, man. Don't I know it. Okay. Man, I wasn't on our page long enough, and it got away from me. Okay, so on our page... Christina says, I think basements are more creepy, mostly because we don't really have them in this part of Texas. So the idea of them can kind of leave more to the imagination. Yes, that's exactly what I said. Like attics here are hot and no one's going to hide out in there because they would die. You said, I guess, I agree, but I've also actively avoided going into any attic, including my own.
Yes.
I find having neither. She says, I totally agree. I have no desire to go into an attic, but if I was forced to choose between the two, I would choose the more familiar. Basements. Noelle says, basements. I didn't for the longest time, but the last house my family moved into before I moved out, the basement just gave me such bad vibes. Every time I stepped into it, I refused unless absolutely necessary. Ugh. She says, I've had both attics and basements, bigger windows in attics to escape. If there are any windows in a basement, they are tiny. Yeah, I could not slip through a tiny little window. Lady Savannah Morgan says, for some reason, any unfinished basement gives me a case of the heebie-jeebies.
My cousin.
I've lived in an attic before, but it was very small and basically just two divided bedrooms into a hole. And then I'm not going to read all that. Then Jackie says, for me, my grandma's attic House is from the Civil War era and has a giant exhaust fan at the top of the stairs that was on the attic floor, but second story ceiling. Huge blades literally could have been fallen through. There were always birds getting into the windows to nest. It was like what I assumed Dracula's attic would have been like. My cousins never thought the basement was creepy. It was an old coal basement with few windows. Never bothered me any.
Nothing.
Yeah, and did she post that picture of it? It's like one little tiny window. Ugh. The house is 10 out of 10 haunted, but homely. Michael or Shirley Kinchin says basement, darker, colder, and no escape. Catherine says both. Lori says basement. Sarah, basement, because there are more scary movies with those than attics.
Yes.
And then Eric said what I said. Yes. Neva says, are you talking about Miller Street?
Oh, that's my aunt.
Oh, okay. And then Janet says basement. Too many true crimes happen there. Plus attics are hot. See, the South. Danielle says basement because that's where it rubs the lotion on the skin again. Kendra says basement. Paula says, I'm probably a weirdo. No, probably about it actually. But I happen to like both places. You never know what you're going to find. Dead people.
That's exactly why I don't like either. Mummies, bones, dead animals, bodies. I don't know if I said bodies, but bodies.
Pentagrams with burning
Demons.
candles, the whole thing.
There's lots of things you find. I don't know what the hell that means. You don't know what you're going to find.
Yeah, you're going to find the portal to hell.
You're going to go in the attic and find random movies of creepy stuff.
So attic and basement, Paula says, in its early life. Oh, she's posting pictures. She's going to haunt my house now.
I know, but look at how cool the house is in the picture she posted.
Yeah, they're cool. Mm-hmm. Okay, Rick says, hate them both, but I would avoid the basement if both were equally creepy. Cheryl says, basement is creepier. At least the attic has windows with natural light and views. Rodney says basement. I think basement wins here as the creepiest. Laura says basement, definitely basement. I think I'm a little claustrophobic. Don't people get buried in basements? Yes, Laura, yes they do. Heidi says,
So real quick to Laura's statement, she said, don't people get buried in basements? And I was like, well, technically people can be buried in the walls of a house anywhere. And of course she was like, thanks for that.
Thanks for that. Heidi says, and that looks like the Amityville horror attic, replying to your aunt's pictures of her house. And what the heck is that in the basement? There's like a little being. Did you notice
I didn't even notice that when I posted it. And
I
then
didn't either.
She's like, I really thought about my answer. And I was like, well, no. I did not want to know that was even in the picture.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's a little being in there. I didn't even notice that. Okay. Debbie says both are scary. Martha says both. Nat says, we kids love to go down in Granddad Henson's basement to dig around. All kinds of stuff there, including a stuffed eagle.
Oh, why?
And probably death. Deanne says basements are scary. So many people get murdered and bury them underneath the floor. I've watched Discovery ID way too much. And then Mary says basement for sure. So there you go.
Thank you guys for answering. Yay! We love to read the answers. They're always a nice way to end the episode, especially when the episode's been kind of crazy.
I mean, and this was indeed crazy.
I know originally we discussed kind of maybe doing aliens, but like I saw this and I was like, I have to do this because it's so crazy.
I know, and I wanted to bring Jason on to do it, but he was like, "This." He would have been like, "Oh, I don't believe in anything. Aliens aren't real. Ghosts aren't real." Like that's my husband, ladies and gentlemen.
He's the producer of our show.
He's gonna be so excited I said that. Here's my husband to talk to you about why you shouldn't believe in aliens.
That's okay. When I do aliens, we'll pull them on. I'll do the alien story eventually. I just really, really wanted to do this one because I heard it and I was like, oh, that's so crazy. And we hadn't done paranormal in a very long time.
Yeah, and I haven't even heard of that hotel.
Yes.
I go to San Antonio all the time.
Like I said, I watch a lot of true crime people on TikTok and I learn very, very fascinating stories and I save them. So anyways, that's That's that. That's,
watch TikTok, y'all.
Yeah.
Won't happen.
we'll eventually be there.
I watched.
We have
TikTok.
one. I've just never posted anything on it.
I tend to laugh at the TikToks that are like, here's a normal person and here's a psychopath. Like, here's
I'm always the psychopath.
Here, I don't really. So, like, if you drop your phone on the floor, do you get up off your bed to pick it up and then get back in your bed? Or do you, like, lean over?
Depending on where it fell, I usually get up and get it.
Oh, really? Oh, you're a psychopath. I totally lean out of the bed.
Listen, I usually fall out of the bed if I try to lean over, and then I'm stuck on the floor because I'm old and I can't get up. I need one of those, like, life alert pendant things. I'm falling and I can't get up. It's me. Anytime I bend down.
We've joked about getting me one of those because I fall all the time. All right, everybody. Well, do you have anything else to say?
Just, we're still taking stories for our 150th episode. It's a listener episode. We want to tell your stories because we love you and we want to appreciate you. And thank you for listening. So anyway, send us your stories, paranormal, true crime, whatever's happened to you. Message us and we'll tell your story. That's all I got.
That's all you got?
You can
all right.
leave voicemails on our website or whatever, reviews.
Glenn, try again because Ashley says it should work.
It should work. We had someone test it, or I had someone test it. And it worked.
It works. It works. So let's do it. All right, everybody. Well, we'll see you next week. Until then, please take care of yourselves. Be kind to one another. And we'll see you next week. Send us those stories. Bye.
Bye.